Elevate yourself. Empower others. Today, we'll talk about why pipeline quality is broken, why referrals are still massively underused, and how sales needs a truth layer in an AI heavy world. Shawn, welcome to the show.
Wow, thanks, Marco, for having me. I am excited to be a part of the conversation today. This is not only what I do, it's my passion. It's what I love, what I care about. So I'm excited for the conversation.
Thank you. Let's start with pipeline quality, move into referrals systems, and then talk about trust, but verify and what selling has to become next. So, most CROs don't actually know how good their pipeline is, they just know how big it looks. When CRO tell you their pipeline isn't converting, what's really broken underneath the surface?
Well, you know what? I'll back up just a second because I'll give you a little bit more intro and answer that question, which is that I have spent most of my career building and leading B2B sales teams. And that's everything from early stage startups to public companies. Today, I work as a fractional CRO through my firm, SMC Sales. Um, and the through line in my work is pretty simple. Most revenue problems aren't talent problems or tech problems, they're truth problems. And leaders think that deals are real, that their forecasts are solid, and that the buyers are aligned until the quarter ends. And so I really hope I focus on helping teams move from opinion to actual proof. And that's where Trust But Verify comes in. Uh, from verifying everything from, buyer intent, impact, commitment. I also built the referral sense system that is centered on earning trust and not chasing leads. And these worlds absolutely collide. In fact, I would say that if you asked 10 chief revenue officers today, give me your top five obstacles, you're going to find pipeline creation and pipeline quality. Pipeline is probably going to take up three of the five of things, top five things that they're concerned about, and their people, that their talent, finding the right talent to go after the market. All of that brought me to where I am today, which, in answer to your question, is CROs. They look at the size of the pipeline, and we've been taught to have a multiplier, right? So what's your coverage to goal? They just want to know that you're going to make the goal, and so they don't really focus on the pipeline per se until they realize that it's a problem that is not going to go away. So many people say, I need a 4x pipeline, I need a 6x pipeline, um, and they're not really focused on why they're losing. They just want to make sure that they have coverage to win.
Mhm. Where this problem comes to? Is it source? Is it ICP fit or seller behavior?
I think it's all three. I think it's all three. And I would say that it starts with system behavior. It
Mhm.
starts with actually defining what good looks like, and and then being able, because here's what I've seen in multiple sales organizations, Marco. And the data shows it. Fullcast put out the sales benchmark report, and I've been following this report now. This is the third year I've been following this report. It is based on empirical data, a good size amount of data. I want to say over 440,000 sales opportunities, more than $750 billion worth of pipelines, millions of hours of recorded calls. So it's a pretty good data set to get an idea. And here's kind of what I see is that the organizations themselves haven't defined, like they have top performers. This is the other thing that's in the report. The report shows that high performers are outperforming um, the rest of the team to the point where 78% of sales reps in 2024 missed quota, right? That to me is not a people problem. Like it can't be talent. Like if 78% of your sales reps are missing quota, right? Where we're talking about 22% of the sales team is even making quota. We're saying, in fact, in their report that um, I want to say 13% of the sales team is carrying 80 plus percent of the revenue, right? So is that a talent problem? And I would venture to say no, that's not a talent problem. I think it's a system problem. And I think that our reliance on technology has put us in a position where hope is our strategy. And I think when we talked last time, I talked about how going back to my days at Eloqua, 2012, there were 150 logos, products in the landscape for sales and marketing technology. That has grown to 15,384 as of the last report. Comes out every year, Cinco de Mayo. Check your calendars. That's when it's out. Um, and by the way, at the same time they put out the this report, they put out um, a, I guess it's called the techies or the Mar techies. It's a list of the most sophisticated MarTech stacks, right? And companies do these creative things with their MarTech stacks. The average company in the marquees on the MarTech the techies, I forget what the name of them are. Anyway, the average company has 39 different technologies for sales and marketing technology. Like 39. Like that's unbelievable. And listen, I'm not saying that that tech is unnecessary. I'm just saying that our reliance on that tech has hurt us in the sales world and the marketing world, both under a lot of pressure, because it hasn't improved the percentage of reps making quota. In fact, at 2012, 63% of sales reps were making quota. 2024, or 20 coming into 2025, excuse me, 22% of sales reps are making quota. So this steep decline in the percentage of reps making quota
Mm.
is my mission that I'm trying to solve for.
But there is one thing that we need to talk about. The If I'm wrong, just tell me.
Yeah.
But the better salespeople get better
Mhm.
leads, right? Is that correct?
No, no,
No,
they don't.
no.
They don't. In fact, here's some interesting facts. So most of these organizations, these salespeople are working the same amount. In fact, high performers work a larger pipeline. They they do some things differently, and I'm glad you said that, Marco, because in the past we would just say they've got superpowers. Our top reps, they're just magical. They're just unicorns. They're purple squirrels. They're just rare. And we could allow that to exist if we weren't in a digital world. If we weren't in a digital world, then we could just throw that out there and be like, nope, these are just unicorns. That's just it. But we are in a digital world. And in a digital world, most of our conversations are happening just like this, right? So there's
Yeah.
conversation intelligence. There are questions being asked. There are statements being made. There are things that high performers are doing that are now visible. Because in a digital world, even if I couldn't pull it together, AI can. AI can actually work within conversation intelligence, and it can tell me within a phrase or a series of words what words are being used and how those words are being used. And here's what the data shows from the EPSTA study, that high performers 455% better at discovery. They are 588% more likely to follow with rigor a medpick or spiced methodology. And the same data shows that they multi-thread early in their process. They are in fact, their deals are 213% less likely to slip. Like,
Mhm.
so, and they are good at completing the med pick and the spice requirements. And the data shows that when they do, when they complete a med pick or spice, that those deals have a 324 to 374% higher chance of actually winning. So my thing is that we used to be able to get away with that excuse, but now, because everybody's can be seen, it's all visible. That's what I love about AI is that we didn't have time to mine. We didn't have to apply machine learning, um, artificial intelligence, hyper targeting. Like we couldn't do those things, but now we can to a series of conversations across all of our wins, all of our losses, and we can start to define what good looks like. Now, here's the thing is that I think a lot of organizations know that their high performers are doing something different, but their standards aren't built
Mhm.
on what high performers are actually doing. Like that needs to be the standard of the organization. And I think what happens is in these sales organizations, because we have such a low percentage of sales reps making quota, there is a psychology that's kind of playing in here where organizations, sales reps within those organizations are not trying to be the best anymore. They're just trying not to be the biggest loser because at the end of the quarter, they know that the people who are at the bottom are the ones that are in trouble when everybody's missing it. And it's causing a mentality within a sales organization that I don't think any of us intended when we first got started. So, no, I don't think that they have a superpower. I don't think that they're getting better leads. I think that and the data shows that they disqualify really early. Um, but they earn the right to disqualify. They're not cherry pickers. They're not looking for just the best leads. They are looking for the biggest problems to solve, the problems that money will follow. They know how to get to prioritized pain. And here's the thing that they do better than everyone else is that they are able to actually capture the implications of that pain and the cost of inaction associated with not solving that prioritized pain.
Okay. Yeah, they
Mhm.
know how to communicate to a prospect this what they are losing if they don't act immediately.
Yes. And it's measurable. And the buyer it's coming from what the buyer said. Right? It's not coming from them manufacturing something. I think that they are exceptional. I think the best salespeople today are like they have aligned to how buyers have changed because there is something that's happened here, by the way. In the midst of us getting all this technology and the percentage of sales reps going down, making quota going down, there is an important factor that has played a
Mhm.
role in that, and that's buyers, B2B buyers in particular, right? They are far more educated. They self-educate at a very high rate.
Mhm.
And they expect certain things from sellers that they aren't getting. In fact, Gartner's latest reports say that 75% of B2B buyers would prefer, not that they're getting it, but they would prefer a rep-free experience. Now,
Mhm.
I didn't say expert-free and I didn't say human-free, but they don't want to talk to another sales rep who is pitching and slam bam, thank you, customer, and talking about themselves and or trying to get you to sit down on their couch and tell you all their problems. And that to me has to do with the level of relationship. So when I say this, and you see my hand go like this, I'm thinking about a two by two that I use to help organizations realize that they need to move up in the level of relationship. At the very bottom, you're just a vendor. You have a product, market fit, you call it. And so you're just selling your thing, right? And it's more about your product than it is about the customer. And that's kind of how you go at it. And I don't think you can survive in B2B in this world as just being a vendor. You move up a little bit on that relationship level, the next level, and you are a preferred supplier. This is where, you have some logos, right? You might do really well in a niche. We sell to hospitals, whatever, right? So, you got a very specific group that, and you've got some good logos, and so you can lean on that. The problem is that the problems that buyers are solving for today are one, not just for themselves. There's usually a team involved, and so preferred vendor works sometimes, but then you got to be able to talk to all the personas within that organization. Preferred supplier. Next level up is a solutions consultant. Now,
Hmm.
this means that you not only know your product and you know where you specialize, but you also know the problems that your product solves, right, for your customers. And I think that this is where we've gotten stuck and buyers moved, right? Is this whole idea of solutions consultants, where if you tell me your problems, I can tell you how my solution solves your problem, right? That's why we call it a discovery call. Hate the word, hate it, hate it, hate it. Because it's a discovery call is for you. It is not, and so I would much rather have it be a business briefing where or insight validation call, right? Where we're going to provide you some insights and we're going to validate whether or not it makes sense for us to continue to engage. I would rather even say that than say discovery. It just feels like a proctology exam. I just don't want it. Anyway, I'm off topic. But the point is that you have this discovery call, right? And the buyer, today's buyer, doesn't want to do that anymore because they already know what their problem is. They already know. Now they may not be able to articulate it fully, and maybe there's other parts of it that they don't even know that they need to be able to articulate, and that's where you come in. But if you're expecting people to lay down on their couch and tell you all their problems, and you're going to make, your money off of that, you're going to be left behind because buyers have moved. The cloud has moved. And the cloud is where the next level relationship is strategic contributor. A strategic contributor, and this I believe is the highest level of relationship that you can get before delivering uh, product or system or service value with a new customer is this. And the goal should be to start at this level of a strategic contributor who not only knows their product, where they specialize, the problems that they solve, but they know specifically how that relates to you, to your customers, to your industry, to all right, they can now come in and instead of and have a point of view as opposed to just being product driven. They are now more customer centric. And that's where relationships have to start. I
Yeah.
say that to say that if you have the right level of relationship, then the bottom axis of that is the system or the process. And most organizations, they just rely on the relationship. They're missing that bottom axis of we have to have a process. Far left axis here would be no process, random process, informal process, formal process. Not enough anymore. Not enough to have formal, documented, if you will, process and level of relationship, right? To get you to that upper right-hand corner, you're going to fall somewhere short if you don't continue to have a process that is both uh, it goes from formal to formal and dynamic to formal, dynamic, predictable to formal, dynamic, predictable, and adaptable, which is where AI gives us the ability to now inform our process, right? And create value-based moments for someone who we have established ourselves with as a strategic contributor with the goal of increasing buyer confidence and not just sales rep confidence. And that to me is the biggest differentiator today as it relates to truth. Uh, the truth is not going to be just what your salesperson did. It's got to include what the buyer's reaction was. like how their engagement was, what they what they said in conversations, right? I think conversation intelligence like Gong or Fathom or any other conversation intelligence, they tell you what happened on a call, but what they're not doing is helping you to take all of the calls that have happened, all the engagement that has happened, all the emails that have happened, and to not only measure what the rep did, but what was the customer's reaction, right? What are they not saying that they would need to be saying in order for us to safely exit this stage of the buyer journey and go to the next stage? So, in answer
Mhm.
to your question of what's happening in pipeline, I think that the gap between perception and reality is getting way too wide, and we need a truth layer to help us. There'll always be a gap, but to close that gap and we can focus on that truth.
Yeah, you answered a question. Why do forecasts feel more like hope than truth right now? Uh,
Yeah. It's because they were depending. I think that sales organizations are depending on what the sale. I can't even begin to tell you. I work with clients. And by the way, if there's anyone out there, if you are tracking your forecast in spreadsheets, you have already lost. I'm just gonna like just tell you that, right? Like your forecast has to exist in the same place that your sales intelligence, conversation intelligence exists, behavioral intelligence exists. All of it has to exist in the same place. And the fact that you have to pull it out tells me you're using gut right off the bat because now you come to a meeting, you pull up the spreadsheet, you ask the sales rep, where's this deal? Right? Tell me what your next step is. What's their pain? What's their priority? And the rep just throws it down. He knows the questions you're going to ask every single time. Do you have a next step on the calendar? Who's involved in this deal? Right? They can orate and spit it out, right? Any kind of way you format it. Here's what I need you to tell me on every deal. But what they're not telling you is what happened with the customer. Like, and have we lowered the bar, the hesitation? Shout out to uh, Brett Adamson, author of The Frame Making Sale. He's co-author of Challenger Sale. He's wrote a book called The Frame Making Sale. This book actually it's everything that I've ever thought about. He's saying it in this book and he's framing it in a way that I probably could never articulate it. But it is all about the fact that you now need to be able to measure buyer confidence, right? It's because 61%, talk about that pipeline again. I can tell you right now, 61% of the deals in that pipeline are going to be lost to no decision, status quo, right? And that is not because the rep didn't take the right actions. It's because the rep didn't measure, didn't build off of customer reactions. Um, no one's tracking that, and that truth layer is missing. And then all of a sudden we look surprised when a deal gets lost. So that speaks to just why we're losing, speaks to the quality of that pipeline in terms of an inability that exists in most organizations to actually measure customer reactions and rep actions versus the verifiable outcomes. What are the things that the customer needs to say in a word or a series of words or clouds or phrases that would check the box on moving them to the next stage and meet the stage exit criteria, right? Why are we still depending on how people feel when it's in the conversations, it's in the emails, it's in the right, it's in there. And it's digital. So we should be able to now fast in between calls, in between moments, like really do an on time, always on deal intelligence OS. I created it. Trust but verify. But to actually tell us what's where we are in a deal. Now, let's say you could do that and you could fix it now, my pipeline becomes more predictable, right? My process becomes more adaptive and more predictive because I am now aligning to a level of relationship and a process that is putting me in that upper right hand corner, that high performer area. but how do I
Mhm.
get now pipeline? Because we don't have so much time in the day. And
Yeah.
this brings us to the pipeline and sales efficiency. Now, because anytime I talk to someone like I don't have enough time, I'm busy, I'm trying to work the deals I have, and most organizations have now put the task on their sales reps to
Yeah.
build their own pipeline. I mean, the SDR teams are shrinking. More people are leaning towards AI SDRs, right? Digital dupes or whatever you want to call them to go out and beat the streets and try to get meetings for that sales rep. And that sales rep now is responsible in many cases for 50, 60% of their pipeline. That is a challenge. That is a challenge.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, what is, when we talk about the work, what means work to do or work the list? What is the real work? What elite players do and amateurs don't?
Yeah. So
And
so that's
what
that's a
works
real
really mean? We talked about LeBron James, MJ.
yes.
I mean,
Yes.
those guys did a lot of work,
Yes.
100 times more work, just work. Not talking
Yes.
about talent, but work.
Yes.
What mindset is needed for the high performance salesperson? What that means daily? What that means weekly?
Yes. Yes.
Can
Wow.
you?
Man, you're hitting on something that is right in front of me. And I'll share the sample of the cover with you, but I've been writing a book on the ABCs of sales. It is what a high performer or a champion does. We always have heard the phrase always be closing, right? That's our ABC. ABC, always be closing, always be closing. Um, I think that high performers have a lot more C's in their repertoire, right? I think that high performers, here's a stat. This is actually true from Epsta. They use AI. Like if you're a salesperson right now and you're not using AI to help you to be faster and to learn more about your prospect and to do research, you're going to be left behind. So the first thing I would say that they're doing, and you can see it in the likes of a LeBron James or in a Michael Jordan, is that they are highly prepared for their moments of truth.
Mhm.
They are highly prepared for their moments of truth. I would say they're curious, right? They are extremely curious. One of the things, like as confident as these players are, they will freely admit that they haven't arrived. Like they're constantly looking at tape, trying to get better. I even come to the modern league today, and you look at the Thunder and their players. One of the things that you'll see is that, and they're the championship team right now. One of the things that you will see is that they spend a lot of time uh, looking at film, just looking at their tendencies. What am I doing here, right? Like if I were someone were telling asked me today, what could I do to kind of move up to that place? I would say stay curious and absolutely listen. Spend a lot of time listening to your calls, listening to what the high performers are doing on their calls, because I promise you that there is gold, there are clues there. Here's the other thing I'll say. So they're more likely to use AI. They are more always be connecting is another one I would give, or they are tied into, they know that they need to sell into the entire buying team. So they don't wait until they get to a certain place in the sales process to be, okay, now I need to reach out to the CFO.
Mhm.
They've already they do that very early in the process, right? And data shows that when you get the CFO early involved, if they've been a part of meetings at all, your win rate increases 3x, goes from 12% to 36%, right? So getting the CFO early, they do that. Let me tell you what else they do. Um, they are very good at cultivating relationships, right? In fact, one of the stats, I don't know if I have it on my board, about high performers, and maybe it's not on this board. No, it's not. But they are more likely to have quality relationships. Their level of influence. In fact, one of the things that I monitor through Trust But Verify, which is the system I created, is the level of influence. Like, can I see that reciprocity has been used? Have we given them? Can I see that of the laws of influence relative to asking or authority or likability have shown up in this deal? Because when the laws of influence show up, the level of relationship stays. You don't revert back to being a vendor or right, like it stays up. And high performers are really good at building quality relationships. They're
Mhm.
good at commemorating, right? And acknowledging others. They celebrate everyone and everything. So I think that there are some qualities there. I don't want to talk about the book. I'll talk about this, but I will talk about um, something that they are also very good at doing. um, Generating referrals. Like,
That's the next thing
yeah, that they
I
are
want to
very
discuss.
good at generating referrals in their pipeline. And this is the problem that CROs face today, right? The biggest problem is pipeline, and there is what I like to call public problem proof that substantiates the need for every organization that is out there to finally put together and formalize a system for proactively generating referral opportunities in their pipeline. And here's why. If you look at most pipelines today, if you divided the pipeline today, 30% of the pipeline probably came from events, a webinar, something the person attended, they were in education mode. The sales rep reached out, said, "Hey, when you want to evaluate us or whatever," and now they're in the pipeline somewhere between unqualified and negotiation stage, right? Like, so somewhere in that pipeline is where they exist. And the truth about that, you would need something like Trust But Verify to actually know it's true. And you would need to have an actual defined process. So many organizations don't define what their sales process is. And so sales reps are just staging things all over the place. And I could talk about stage gating all day long as a reason why pipelines implode. But the if you look at the source of that pipeline, 30% probably events, 30% cold calls, right? The rep cold outbounded. I worked it. I worked it, right? Uh, and uh, maybe even 50%, I would say, of that is cold outbound. So now we got the last 20%, and it varies by organization, is influenced, partner influenced, maybe agency influenced, right? Like it's a referral, but it's more likely a reactive referral than a proactively generated referral, right?
Mhm.
30% of companies have a formal referral process. In fact, it is built off of mostly that idea of agencies and partners who refer someone, and we just had to have a way in our system within our CRM to track those deals. So, but it's still not being generated per se proactively by the organization or orchestrated, I should say, by the organization. Only 10%
Yeah,
of companies actually have a formal process. Now, let me tell you why this matters. And then I'll pause for a second because I want you to get some questions in here. I know I'm showing up and throwing up a bit again. But here's what I would say. All the data shows that 91% of customers are willing to give a referral, but only 11% of salespeople ask. Right? Now, if you think about the percentage of your pipeline, if you want it, if any percentage could be higher, versus events, versus cold calling, right? Wouldn't you want the referral one to be like because they close at a win rate. The win rate on referrals is 2 to 5 times higher than your highest performing channel, right? So, oh, that's the other small percentage of your pipeline is inbound, right? Like somebody just inbound. So let's say 10% of your pipeline is inbound. Let's say 10% of your pipeline is partner referral. And then let's say 50% of your pipeline is outbound, cold generated, and 30% of your pipeline is events. What if you could just replace the 30% that's events with referrals? Like, what would that do? By the way, they close 3 times faster, 69% faster sales cycle with a referral, and a 37% higher lifetime value because if I was referred, I'm probably more likely to stay as a customer,
And you
right?
don't need advertising budget and a lot of
Right. You know, the
marketing.
average cost per lead, a marketing's average cost per lead is around $650, $700 per lead. Uh, Referral can cost you nothing. Like nothing. So immediately this goes to the bottom line. But here's the thing. Why then, and what I'd love to spend the rest of this conversation talking about is then why is it random? Like why did I, as a sales leader, many a quarterly business review, annual kickoff, sit in front of a sales team and say, hey, we need to generate more referral opportunities, right? Always be connecting, right? And we talk about it, and then then you look at the pipeline and less than 10% of the pipeline is coming from referrals.
Yeah, referrals close faster, cost less, convert better. Yet most teams treat them like a happy accident. And why telling reps go get referrals never works?
I got to tell you, I think it is an experience has the greatest impact. I always say this, an experience has the greatest impact on what you believe, right? And so I believe that reps will go out and do it. They believe, I think there is, again, when I said there's public problem proof and there's public solution proof, in the public solution proof, we know that referrals win. Like everybody knows that they faster, that low cost cost of acquisition, all of that. Reps even know that if I get a referral, like I'm probably going to more likely to win, which makes us as sales leaders and revenue leaders think, well, shouldn't they just do that? Right, right. So it is a great question, and I'm going to tell you that the reason that they don't is because of their experience. So what happens is, let's say, by the way, I'd love to poll the audience on this and just like ask them, when is the best time to ask for a referral? Right? And the crowd says, when you close the deal. That everybody says that. Everybody says that, right? Here's the problem. I just told you only 22% of reps are making quota. So they don't close often enough, which means they are not asking often enough, which means that the experience that they're getting when they do ask is not commiserate to making them want to do it again and again. Because here's what happens. I ask you, hey, Marco, we're closing this deal, or we just closed this deal, and I was wondering, if you seem to like what we do, is there anybody else that you know who would benefit from, our solution? What have I just done? I have just shifted the weight of a referral all onto the referrer, right? Now, you who are thinking about, hey, Shawn, I'm just trying to get to my next question on the podcast, or what I'm going to eat for dinner today, or my child who's just come in the room who's cute as ever. You're thinking about those things, and now I put the weight of thinking about who you should refer onto you, and that's not what was top of mind for you. One, so the timing is off, right? So why don't people ask? Timing, because they just don't feel like the moment is right. Like, we haven't really delivered yet. So I don't know if I should ask. Or when I ask, I put the weight on you. And then now what happens is you go, I don't know, Shawn, you know what? Let me go through my LinkedIn connections as if I have time to go through all my LinkedIn connections and see who might be the right person for me to refer you to because I wasn't thinking about this. It wasn't top of mind. Now, listen, I'm not saying that that's a bad question, but I don't think that will help you to systemize referrals. That question in and of itself won't help you to systemize it, referrals. Right? I put the weight on you. So that's one reason. The timing is another reason that people don't do it. And then it's the referrer thinking, I don't want you to I don't want you to jump on my friends. Like if I know the person, like if I know somebody, I want to make sure that, right? So that part of it is the referrer then gets hesitant, and then we miss the moment. So just in terms of the sales rep's experience, now they're waiting for you to come back and say, I know someone, and they're probably like, oh, he probably doesn't know anyone. And so they don't ask. And then that just repeats itself. And then that's why 91% of customers are willing, but only 11% of people ask. And I just think because it's not systemized. I think sales reps want to be successful. I think they want a higher quality pipeline, but I don't think that there is a system in place that helps to define and orchestrate that experience and force accountability to that experience. And that is what I built when I built the Compellevent referral revenue system. And here's the other thing that happens, and this is a really important one. So on the side of the person who's asked to be giving the referral, their first concern is obviously if they know the person, they don't want to just refer. Even if they like you, there still be the handoff. Here's the handoff experience, right? So I like you, Marco. I would refer you, but I like my friend more, right? Let's say I like this person. I know them better more. So I got to choose a relationship here to anchor on. I know you for a short time. I know them for a long time. I'm probably going to defer to them, right, in that relationship and take the pressure off, which you don't need me to do. You need me to actually help you to position yourself. But instead, because you left it up to me, you said, hey, got anybody to refer? Hey. And so what I did was I said to my friend Nikki over here, I said, hey, Nikki, um, listen, I'm working with this guy, Marco. He asked me for somebody to refer him to. I'm not even sure if this is something that interests you. Can you just give him a few minutes to meet with him? What what type of experience have I now set you up for? Didn't help it. I didn't. It might as well be a cold call. You know what I mean? Like it's a referral. It's supposed to be not warm, not lukewarm. It's supposed to be flaming hot. Like, yes, you got to talk to this guy. Wouldn't you prefer that versus, you know, I know a guy. He might, yeah, maybe 6'7", right? Like now, all of a sudden, like I'm just kind of making it lukewarm. Like, maybe you could meet with this guy. Do me a favor, do me a solid, give him some time. Da 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 da. I have now just lowered you in the esteem of my prospect to just a vendor. I've lowered your relationship level to a vendor, maybe to a preferred supplier, just in the handoff. Like, is there a better way? Right? And here's the reasons why referrals aren't consistently systemized is because people aren't thinking about the experience, right? I need to create an experience that one doesn't put all the weight on you as the referrer to refer me. Two, demonstrate to you that I know that person, right? Instead of asking you who you would refer me to, I could ask that question, but I say, well, listen, I've already identified like three people that you are first connections with. And guess what? They're in accounts that I have done extensive research on that I'm not going to jump them. I'm not going to hump them. I'm not going to run over them. I've actually prepared a one pager for them that explains why they look like, feel like, smell like, taste like an account that should be working with us. And I've identified kind of four things that if they agree with these things, that it may make sense for them to meet with us. And so I want you to see it. I want to share it with you as the referrer because I'm trying to get you confident. Because here's the other reason that people don't ask for referrals, and in fact, not even targeted referrals, right? Instead of putting the work on you, I go out and I identify the targets and I see where you're connected to the targets. I do all of that to take the weight off of you. Now, if you got somebody that comes top of mind and you give me that, bonus. But that's not system, that's hope, right? I want it to be part of the system. I want to know that the same accounts that I'm targeting with my messaging, with our story that are now connected to you, that I see are connected to you, I want to know that they're going to get like a great experience. And so now you can tell them. Now, here's what that also helps. It helps not only your confidence, right? But it also helps uh, the handoff to the other person when, and this is the circumstance, because people say, well, what if they don't know that person? What if they're connected? But I got 14,000 connections. Thank you for all for being one. I got 14,700, 800 connections. I don't know all of those people, right? Um, so if you're asking someone to refer, you have to consider the fact that that person that you're asking to refer you into, they may not have a relationship or a strong
Mhm.
relationship. But guess what? If I prepare them, even when the relationship is weak, uh, they feel more confident that they're now adding value to their network because
Yeah.
they're introducing somebody who actually has looked at their company, strategic contributor. Remember, I know their company. I know their customers. I know their problems. I know where we've, helped companies like them, and I know my product. So like if I at this level of relationship as a strategic contributor, it sounds different, right? It feels different. And I always say, and this is what I've built into the referral revenue system as a service. It's both technology and a service that I provide. But what I've found is that this person is now more willing to refer even when they don't have a relationship because it gives them street cred to say they're adding value to somebody and they didn't have to do all that research and have to make sure how it matches them and all of that stuff. They didn't have to do it. They're more willing. And we've got early returns on this. I'll just say that the early returns on this are almost a 70% yes rate to to the referral happening and a better than 60% conversion rate to a first sales interaction meeting. So, and it looks like right now the uh, first sales interaction to a qualified opportunity rate for these is somewhere in the 45% range. So, almost one out of every two becomes a qualified opportunity. Now, let's go back to sales rep efficiency really quick because you were like, well, what are these reps doing? Right? Like, what are they doing with their time? Right? Like, what are reps doing? And the truth is that the average B2B sales rep is only spending about 2 hours to 3 hours of their time actually engaging with customers. Much of their time is spent now in prep work and research and actually outbounding, trying to generate meetings to get more pipeline. Which, by the way, though, if you think about if 50% of their pipeline is outbound cold call, an outbound cold call has a 10% win rate, right? But referrals have at minimum a 25% win rate and often way over 50% win rate, right? Where do you want your reps spending their time? And what I will say is that the mark of a high performing sales team, sales manager, sales leader, RevOps organization, anyone really, is that they know where to spend their time. And high performers are really good at spending their time in the right places. But here's the thing, why do we have to just leave it there? Right? Why can't we take what the high performer is doing, build it into our system, and replicate the mindsets, the skills, the behaviors of a high performer, such that when these things are missing, these components that would elevate them into like they're prompt, they're coached in the moment. why in a digital world are we now like still waiting for things to happen? So I'll stop right there. But those are my random, hopefully organized enough thoughts on just the pipeline, sales rep behavior, truth as a layer. Like you got to have a system to track that. And if you don't, I'm glad to show examples. I can send anybody who asks a free Trust But Verify deal reality report. You could send me anonymized, if you want, um, call transcripts from your conversation intelligence for one deal. You can send multiple calls, you can send all the emails, or you can just send one call. It doesn't matter. I can take it and put it into Trust But Verify, and I'll give you the truth about that deal. I'll tell you what's the truth. I'll tell you what's missing and why it's important. I'll be able to tell you, and this is what built in a Trust But Verify is what are the next three things that a high performer would do to advance this deal. I built that intelligence. I've got 11 different engines running behind the scenes, looking at level of relationship, looking at spice completion, looking at buyer confidence based on the answers that they're giving you, so that you can have that truth layer and not have to wait until the end to try to. We should be able to make corrections real time because of AI and because of the intelligence that we have versus actual data. So I know I've talked quite a bit here. What other questions can I answer that you think would be important for people to hear?
Listen, you answered all of my questions of referral revenue as an engine. I mean, we talk about ghostwriting, preparation, context change.
Yes, yes,
Context change everything, and we talk about where AI helps and where AI helps and where it absolutely shouldn't lead. Can you answer
yeah.
that question?
I think AI should amplify me, right? It cannot replace me, but it can amplify me. It can amplify my aspirational self, right? One of the things that I built into Trust But Verify is a sales question, a strategic contributor question engine, right? And what it does is it generates questions that you can ask the prospect that position you as a strategic contributor, not as a solutions consultant, not as a vendor, because how you ask questions
Mhm.
really matters when you're trying to amplify trust with someone. And you did hit on a very important point that I didn't mention in terms of facilitating that referral process, which is the ghostwriting of the email, right? Like if I'm going to ask you, I'm not going to ask you. I'm going to have already ghostwritten an email, have my one pager for you. I'm going to five-star concierge-esque experience that makes you really confident. So I wanted to close the loop on that because I'm glad you said that. I
Yeah.
think that AI should again amplify you. It should make you be, I'm gonna give you one word, our last word of the day. It should make you AI with what you have right now, you're relevant, right? Today, what you have, AI can make you compellevant. And that is a combination of being both compelling and relevant.
Mhm.
Right? That's what your customers love. They want an expert, right? They want an expert. They don't want to talk to a account executive. They don't want to talk to, they want to talk to a strategic contributor, an advisor, like because they can talk to an account executive like online, like like that is easy. That's a chatbot, right? Like they want someone who's an expert who understands your world who can operate at that level. AI can make me a expert on them. I'm an expert at what I do, right? But AI helps me to be an expert for each person that I work
Mhm.
with because it accelerates my research. It accelerates my understanding. It accelerates all of the tentacles that you could go to across a number of possible scenarios that help you prepare as a sales rep.
Mhm.
If this customer, I don't go into a call, just like in football, American football, um, I'll give this quick example, is that when a coach calls in a play, uh, and and the guy's on the headset and he's in his helmet, like hearing what the play is or whatever, or looking at this big chart on his arm of all the reason he does that is because he didn't call in just one play. And this is where sales reps have to be. Playbooks are played out in terms of if they're not adaptive and predictive to what's going on, because now there are a whole lot of scenarios that could happen. One, because we have a very vast buying team, right? And we already know what are the things that could go wrong with this deal. Well, AI actually lets me play out those scenarios before they even happen and already know if this happens, I already know I'm going to go this way, or I have these other two tree options, things that I can do. And I don't think in the past have been challenged to think on our feet like that, which is why it's been reserved for high performers. High performers think on their feet, their wit, their quickness, their speed. And listen, you can tell by how long I talk that my processor doesn't move like that. I have to really internalize and think things through, but I can prepare. I can still prepare, right? And so now I can prepare like a high performer would and be able to apply those instinctual, witty pivots because I've explored those scenarios. And if AI can help you do anything, it's that, right? Explore those possible outcomes and go to the end of a thing and then back up and go, okay, how do we avoid that happening? Like, what do I need to do to avoid each of the things that would happen in a deal that would cause me to lose? AI gives you and me the ability to proactively and preemptively eliminate our chance of failure based on a multitude of scenarios.
Perfect. Yes. AI should accelerate trust. And AI is speeding everything up, including failure.
Oh man, it is. I'll say this. I talked about the landscape, the MarTech landscape, that is now at 15,384 solutions for sales and marketing technology. In 2024, it was at 11,400. So the MarTech landscape, which took 12 years or 13 years to get to 13,000, right, or to 15,000, in the last year has grown 25-30% of new solutions are AI. And even the existing solutions now have some AI kind of built into them because they're trying to keep up with all these new solutions. But here is the problem. Think about the percentage of sales reps that are missing quota. This is a clarion call because if you think about the sales percentage of sales reps that are missing quota, if we continue to add products to the MarTech landscape and the decline in quota percentage continues to go down, we're going to eliminate ourselves. Like the bot will take over because the sales rep can't keep up. I don't think we need that. I think people want authenticity. I think they want truth. They want a real human experience. At a certain point, when you start looking at all these solutions, there's more FOMO, right? More fear of more
Yeah.
options. There's more faux. I like to call it fear of effing up or faux foo, or a fear of messing up, of effing up. And I think that um, there is this paralyzation of the buyer can only and the decline of and going back to the frame making sales, shout out again. Uh, your system should monitor, track, and help to increase buyer confidence. Otherwise, we're in trouble, right? Like the decline is obvious. There's a pattern here. Everybody can see it. We must protect the sales industry, and that's really me. At the end of the day, sales has been so good to me. Like, I mean, I've lived a life that I couldn't even have probably imagined outside of being in sales unless I were, a famous actor or something like that or athlete. Like I just I wouldn't have gotten to where I am. And so when I built Trust But Verify, when I built the referral revenue system, it was because I was responding to this collision of public problem proof and public solution proof and the layoffs of so many salespeople and sales team sizes declining, which I think is still going to happen because we haven't figured out how to connect to a buyer that is different. They're only spending 18% of their time with suppliers, according to Gartner. That means if there are three suppliers, you're only getting 6% of the buyer's time. You're not getting enough time to complete Spiced or MedPick to even give yourself a chance to win. And so you're rushing people to signature rather than coaching them to success. And it's showing in your win rates that are in decline. I think the win rates right now are the lowest that they've ever been across the board and for most organizations. And I think it's because of the experience that we're providing for a buyer who's changed. And this is what I'll end with. I'm going to write about this. But because of how the buyer has changed and because of how buyers are consuming information, I think the traditional sales process, discovery, demo, proposal, close, discovery, demo, proposal, close, it's whack and it's not going to help organizations thrive, right? All the data says that only 5% of your target market is in market at any given time. The other 95% are somewhere between unknown, right, ambiguous pain to amplified pain, all the way to, now I'm in market, right? Or a lot of that decisioning is happening, according to Gartner, 80% of it is happening digitally and within the organization, and they're not including you, right? So, how do product led is not the answer to it, by the way. I'm just going to tell you that there's a whole other topic we could talk about, but product led is not the answer. Giving people access to your product and letting them get in, you're still going to run into the same problem, decision confidence, right? It's still going to be there. Here is what will help to eliminate that
Okay.
is creating value-based discussions. I call it choose your own adventure that your prospect would want to go to if they were truly evaluating a solution and they want to get
Mhm.
their decision right, right? So you got to think about for your solution, what are the value-based discussions? And they shouldn't just include you. They should include subject matter experts from your team, people from your customer success team, people from your product team, people from your marketing team, people, sales leadership, financial leadership. However, your solution impacts an organization, because you should be drinking your own coffee or Kool-Aid or whatever it is, um, those people need to be involved on a B2B perspective. The sales rep is the person who is the facilitator of that, and it shouldn't put work on those other people because they have other jobs. But you have to be able to bring those people to conversations where the customer or prospect can find value and meaning and get to choose from a series of discussions that they would want to come to that help them get their decision right. And the goal is no longer closing in terms of just ABC, right? It should be to get that customer to a decision place of agreement to present a business case, right? That's the last thing I'll say. If your
Okay.
discovery demo proposal close, you're going to lose. You need to be, even if you just changed one thing, discovery demo, business case proposal close, right? And then whatever the value-based discussions that someone would need to have, you have to orchestrate, you have to define, you have to you work with marketing to drive them to those locations. Sometimes that is a very prescriptive, like um, invite, you know what I mean? To like invite only type of experience where they feel special. And that's why I believe in an account-based motion. I need to make that customer feel like I know your world. And guess what? I don't want you to make a decision about whether or not you should evaluate me. I want to provide you with a value-based experience that gives you the ability to determine whether or not I'm a good fit. And you can't do that in a 30-minute discovery call. It doesn't make sense. I think we're hurting ourselves. You probably could figure that out over a series of two, maybe three meetings to decide, okay, you know what? I think based on these three conversations that we have, that we should work towards a business case, not work towards buying, but work towards a business case. And all I want from my customers that them for them to tell me that that business case, once we've put it together, is something that they would be willing to defend with their executive team. Because that's all I can do. I can't make people buy. Like, if rain is dew point and temperature, to create rain, you still need moisture in the air. So only God can do that. So what we have to do is create the conditions for rain. And that's a topic for another day.
Yeah.
You notice
Yeah.
I did indeed put on my white winter sweater that I was prompted to do by you in this great outfit. Any other things we can talk about? I'm glad to talk about, or we can wrap. I'm good.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for that. For the end, let's make this tangible. If a CRO or founder listening could change one thing in the next 90 days to improve pipeline quality, what should it be?
Well, this is going to be a surprising one. Because I don't think you can start to win until you really know why you lose. And so I can't believe it, but it's true. I was just doing an analysis for a client of mine where they were getting ready. It was Q4. It was just a couple of weeks ago, coming towards the end of the year, and the CRO was like, I'm scared about Q1. We had a slow Q4. A bunch of these deals have pushed into Q1. I need you to do an analysis. And she did the right thing. I did an analysis of all of their closed loss deals, and I did analysis of their current open Q1 pipeline. I ran it through Trust But Verify, and I looked at their Q4 closes. And what I found was they have not put in their CRM defined forced categories for their losses. So the reps are saying all kinds of crazy things like timing or fit wasn't a fit or ghosted or like they're putting all of these things that outcomes that have happened, but it doesn't fit a category for what really happened, right? And so I'm just going to say if you have to do this because if you know how you lose, you can prevent it from happening. But if you don't have right now in your CRM, there's only 10. There's only 10. There's not infinite reasons why deals lose. They're 10, right? 10 categories. They have to select a category and they have to know when to use that category. And then you have to have an open box, a text box where they can paste in the details of what happened, right? If the customer sent them an email with all the reasoning, make it infinite. Let them paste all they want in that box, but have categories and then have category details. I got to tell you why that matters. Because if if you've defined your sales stages, if you know what your criteria is for being at each stage, for exiting into the next stage of your buyer journey or whatever waterfall you use, um, then based on the category and when that loss is happening, that's going to tell you where that rep is losing. You can back up to like, how do we get ahead of that? But if you don't categorize, it's going to be all over the place. So oddly enough, I would have said, and if you'd asked me this a month ago, I would have probably said, yeah, you need a referral system to improve your pipeline. Turn on a referral system or turn on Trust But Verify to actually just do a deal review and see what's missing in your deals. That's the truth layer. Put that truth layer in there. Stop relying on what rep says. Trust them, but verify, right? So like I would have said that a month ago, but now
Mm.
I am saying like y- one, if you don't have your sales process defined in terms of like what is the stage exit criteria for every one of my stages? What has to be done? And what does the customer have to say or agree with in general for this to really meet this stage? Right? I can help with that. I can help with that. I can help with that. You need that, right? Because we have conversation intelligence now. Like everybody's got a recorder. You got like everybody has a recorder. So it's not enough for my recorder to tell me what spiced categories, which Fathom can do. Love that Fathom, Otto, whoever it is. I love that they can do that. They can say, here's what I heard for spiced or whatever. What they cannot tell you is what's missing in terms of what the customer said and how that applies to your stage exit criteria or your verifiable outcome criteria. And I believe that a modern sales team, 2026 and beyond, reps should stop updating stages. They shouldn't even have to. It shouldn't even happen. They should stop forecasting. I think the system should forecast. We have too much technology. Like, I could just tell you by what's happening in the deal and what's happening in previous deals. I think Gong is headed that way with some of the prediction stuff, but they're missing a big piece. Call me Gong. But they're missing a big piece of it. So I'm sorry, I've gone on and on. I'm making you yawn, Marco. Thank you for giving me your time. I know it's late your time. So, um, and I can't wait to see what we do with this, man. I I wanna, I want it to be great for Coach Approach. I want it to be great for you. I want it to be great for me. I wanted both of us to experience how this moment turns into something else, a movement.
John, thank you for fresh perspective. This was outstanding. And for people who want to follow your work, learn about Trust But Verify or connect with you, where's the best place to find you?
Absolutely, LinkedIn. Sensational CSO. Sensational is, a word, a name I was given by the former CEO of Eloqua before we were bought at 10 times our value and 40% above our stock price by Oracle. And so I was a part of something great there. Shout out Joe Payne for giving me the name Sensational. So you can be sensational or you can be Sean-sational. Thanks again. No, but yeah, they can hit me on LinkedIn. Um, everything's there. That's where I primarily play. I'm getting into the TikToks and Instagrams. You can find I'm Sean-sational on those places as well. But definitely those places and a new website coming soon, but right now, but if you wanted to go to B2B Sales Superheroes.com. I believe everybody has a superhero in them that the system can bring out. You can find me there as well. And I created a newsletter some time ago, and I'm going to revisit it. I haven't posted in a long time. There's a newsletter on LinkedIn. I named it Wasad. Wasad. And the name comes from the initials. What would a sales superhero do? WWASSD. What's up? What would a sales superhero do? And that's kind of what's built into Trust But Verify and everything I do. I'm always thinking about, and you'll see I have three exclamation points next to it because I'm like, what? Not only would a sales superhero do now, but what are the next three things? If you want to be a sales champion, don't just think about next steps. Think about the next three steps. Stay ahead of your buyer.
Welcome to Coach Approach Podcast.